Live from the sidelines and straight into your headphones, this is the Playbook, Sideline Stories and Sports Talk. I'm Blair Villarreal, bringing you the inside scoop, epic moments, and conversations with athletes, broadcasters, and the amazing people who make game day happen. Get ready. It's time to break down the plays and open up the playbook. What's up, sports fans, and welcome to episode 2 of the Playbook, Sideline Stories and Sports Talk. And boy, we got a great topic to cover here today. But before we dive in, I just want to say thank you so much to everybody for all the kind messages, the wise words of wisdom, and all the love and support you have given me after launching my first episode last week. It was such a big accomplishment for me and the rest of the Playbook podcast. I'm so excited to see where this journey takes me, and I'm really excited to dive into the world of sports with you guys. So keep bringing on the kind messages, and I cannot wait to share them with you guys. But in case y'all are wondering, today's topic is everything US Open. It is the final Grand Slam tennis tournament of the year. It's my personal favorite one to watch every year, and it's something I look forward to as a former college tennis player and tennis enthusiast myself. I mean, this is a dream of mine to be able to one day hopefully broadcast at the US Open, just being courtside or being up in the booth, anything like that, just talking about the love of the tennis world. And you know, it's as someone who played tennis their whole life and watching the US Open or any of the big tennis tournaments throughout the year, there's always those players that I always look up to. Roger Federer obviously being my favorite player of all time, Rafael Nadal, of course, and Serena Williams, all those big-time players who have left their mark on the tennis world. But then there's also that current talent that is currently thriving on court right now. And, you know, first round has already been completed. It started on Sunday, it wrapped up on Tuesday. Yesterday began the beginning of the second round action. It concludes today. And, you know, there's already a lot of stuff that we're going to be talking about here today, and there's been a lot of big stories that have come across the past couple of days, and so we're going to talk about some of the upsets that have already been in round one, which there have been a few that I've kind of marked down. Obviously, we're also going to talk about the little bit of the Medvedev and Bonzi match and what happened in that third set on the opening night in Louis Armstrong Stadium. And then also we're going to talk about some big questions of this episode and what that's going to look like in every segment. I have a couple segments that we're going to talk about. There's going to be a few big questions that we're going to talk about and answer from what I see as someone who wants to go into sports broadcasting and as a tennis enthusiast myself. We're going to talk about a little bit about that. But in all, let's dive into the US Open, starting off with the women's draw. So the women's singles draw is something that I've been keeping a close eye on, especially with all the talent coming around. I mean, obviously you have Aryna Sabalenka, who is the defending champion of the US Open this year, who is the number 1 seed. She's world number 1. And that goes into talking about my first big question. So the big questions that we're going to be talking about are, will Sabalenka go 0 for 4 in Grand Slams this year? How does Amanda Anisimova bounced back after a tough loss in the Wimbledon final? And then also we're going to talk about some of the upsets that have already happened, and also talk about my picks as well. And so first big question that we'll go over, will Sabalenka go 0 for 4 in Grand Slams this year? Personally, I feel like she will. But she has looked really good in her first 2 matches, her first and second round match. She may be the defending champion, but when it comes to big matches and bigger tournaments, she hasn't been able to get over the hump of closing out big matches in Grand Slams. Well, we talk about, she's won 2 out of the 4 Grand Slams last year, which both of them came on hard courts. She won her second straight Australian Open title last season, and then also she won the US Open last year. But another thing to note is that all her losses that came in the Grand Slams this year came from American players. Obviously we saw her lose to Madison Keys in the Australian Open final, in which Keys won her first ever Grand Slam at the Australian Open. She lost to Coco Gauff in the final of the French Open of this year. And then also she lost to Amanda Anisimova in the Wimbledon semifinal. I think what's not letting her get over that hump, sometimes she gets a little bit into her head. She has a great game. She has such a big forehand, such a big serve. She has a lot of good pieces. That's a part of her game. But I feel like whenever she gets ahead, and this is what happens to her sometimes in these big matches, including some of the matches she lost this year, she goes up a set, she feels really comfortable about her game, but somehow her opponent starts to come back. That is something that gets into her head. She starts to lose her game a little bit, and she just lets it slip away. It happened at the Australian Open. She was up a set against Madison Keys. She was also up a set against Coco Gauff at the French Open. She was also up a set in her loss to Amanda Anisimova at Wimbledon. I feel like that's probably going to continue. I mean, she'll make a good run, but I think she's not going to walk away with the title. There is a chance if she makes the quarterfinals of the US Open, she keeps her number one ranking. But if she loses before the quarterfinal, she's going to lose that number one ranking to either Iga Swiatek or Coco Gauff. We'll see what happens in her third round match, but I personally feel like she's not going to defend her US Open title. Someone else is going to come in, and there's going to be a new champion. Now, we're talking about Amanda Anisimova. Obviously, she made her first ever Grand Slam final at Wimbledon, but she had that tough loss to Iga Swiatek, which, I mean, Iga Swiatek is such a talented player. I mean, at 24 years old, she already has 6 Grand Slams. 4 of those are from the French Open. She's won the US Open back in 2022. She won her first Wimbledon title this season. And I mean, she's looked really good. I mean, she's already looked good in her first round match. She won a tight 3-set match earlier today in the second round. She's listed up there as a favorite to win the tournament. But when we talk about Amanda Anisimova, I think what she did after Wimbledon, she just kind of regrouped. She's playing on American soil right now. She's so young. She has a lot of good talent coming out of her. She's one of those rising stars. She's the 8th seed in the tournament. She's looked really good in her first round match. I mean, she stormed right through, and you know, she's looking to make a big name for herself. And just seeing the rise of American tennis, which is another big question we're going to talk about whenever we get to the men's portion of this episode, I think she'll make a good run. Obviously, there's a lot of great talent in the draw, especially with all the American players like Jessica Pegula, Coco Gauff, even Taylor Townsend, who made the upset against Helena Ostapenko yesterday, which she's been looking really good. I mean, she's the world number 1 in doubles. She's been looking really good. There's a lot of great talent in this field that have a chance to win this tournament, but I think Amanda Anisimova will make a good run like she did at Wimbledon. She has that experience now. I think just experience kind of got the best of her, being her first Grand Slam final at Wimbledon against a very tough player, former world number 1 Iga Swiatek. It's currently world number 2 right now, but I feel like Anisimova so far has bounced back really well here at the US Open. She stormed right through her first match. She's looked really good. She's going to be up there as probably a threat in the draw, who's got probably one of the best backhands in the game. I mean, I watched her at Wimbledon. She's hitting those backhand winners like nobody's business. Now, we talk about some of the upsets that have already happened in the women's draw. I mean, after round 1, probably the biggest one that we've seen is Madison Keys, the reigning Australian Open champion, 6th seed of the tournament. She lost to Zarazua of Mexico 6-7, 7-6, 7-5. Obviously, she couldn't find a way to close it out in that third set. It probably was a match that she should have won. I mean, she's got such a strong game. She had a brand new serve motion in Australia that really helped her win the Australian Open. I mean, she beat both Iga Swiatek and Aryna Sabalenka en route to her first ever Grand Slam in Melbourne. She was able to tie it up 5-5 in the third set after being down 3-5. But this is what I think cost her the match. She had 89 unforced errors. 37 of those were in the first set alone. Obviously, this was a surprise to me. I mean, this was the upset of the tournament so far, and all the other seeds have pretty much gone through, or some of the lower seeds might have gone out, but this is the biggest upset we've seen in the tournament so far. This obviously was a match she should have won. There was plenty of opportunities for her to go out and get some good winners, but I think it was just those those unforced errors, those 37 unforced errors in that first set alone to get to her 89 unforced errors she had, I think that's what kind of cost her. Because if you get 87 unforced errors or just like missing in the net or missing long, like you're not going to win tennis matches. If she can find a way to bring down those unforced errors into the rest of the season, even going into Australia next year, that game will get better and she'll be able to get over that hump of being able to close out those kind of matches against opponents that you really are supposed to win. But honestly, after Australia, I feel like she hasn't been the same since she won the Australian Open. I just feel like she just needs to work on toning down those unforced errors, just decreasing that number. If she just gets less and less unforced errors, I mean, everyone's going to make an unforced error. I mean, no one's going to have like the perfect match of having like 0 unforced errors. I mean, if someone did, like, that's impressive. Like, then your game is just clean. But I think Maddie Keys just needs to work on lowering those unforced errors, and she's going to win a lot more matches. She's going to be the same what she was in Australia. And now we talk about my picks to win the tournament. Obviously, I have my favorites. Jessica Pegula's looked really good in her first few rounds. Coco Gauff, she plays later tonight on Arthur Ashe. Those two are my 2 Americans. I mean, not trying to be biased or anything, but those 2 have looked really good. Jessica Pegula, the finalist last year in New York. I mean, she lost to Aryna Sabalenka, but she's one of those players where lately she's been in a little bit of a slump, losing early in these bigger tournaments. But this is the U.S. Open. She's on American soil. And I feel like Jessica Pegula, she's been looking really good for her first few matches. She's going to make a run. Coco Gauff, obviously, she made a big coaching change just a week before the U.S. Open got started. She took on Aryna Sabalenka's former serve coach, and her serve is starting to look better. She's looking on fixing those mechanics and getting that high first serve percentage higher up, because she had an early exit in Wimbledon. She lost in the first round. Her serve didn't look the greatest, but I think with the hiring of her new coach, her serve is looking a lot better. I mean, she's also got to tone down the unforced errors to her, and also that you got to make that first serve in. If you make that first serve in and you win a lot of those points, you're going to win a lot of matches, especially if you're Coco Gauff. I feel like she won the French Open when she didn't really play her best tennis. I mean, I've listened to a lot of the broadcasters on the U.S. Open talk about this. I even listened to her former coach, Brad Gilbert, who helped her win her first ever Grand Slam at the U.S. Open in 2023. She's one of those players that she puts up a fight. If Coco Gauff is down, she's going to find a way to fight back. And she's up there in one of my picks. Jasmine Paolini, obviously looking really good. She's made a couple Grand Slam finals runs herself at both the French Open and Wimbledon. She hasn't been able to get over that hump of making those deep runs as of lately. But she made the final of Cincinnati, which the Western Southern Open in Cincinnati. And that's a Masters 1000 event, which is like on the tour, that's the highest level below Grand Slam for tournaments. She made the final there. Obviously, she lost to Iga Swiatek, which Swiatek's tough. She's one of the toughest players on tour. She's got a smart game. She's got a great serve, powerful forehand, great ground strokes, and got good hands. Jasmine Paolini is up there because she's coming. As young as she is, she's got a lot of great talent. And then also Mira Andreeva is another one of those. She's looked really good. She won Indian Wells this year. She's beat Aryna Sabalenka in Indian Wells. She's going to be someone to look for when it comes to the final or in the later rounds. She's going to make a deep run. If I'm correct, she won 6-0, 6-1 in her first round. That's something I watch out for. If she's steamrolling through these first round matches like that, all these top players are like top 10. She's in the top 10, but these upper ranking players like a Sabalenka or Swiatek or even Coco Gauff, you got to watch out for Mira Andreeva. She's someone you got to look out for. But if I see one of those 4 players win that tournament, I'm going to be ecstatic. So that's my take on the women's draw. So now let's talk about the men. So when it comes to the men's singles side of the tournament, there's a lot of questions. I mean, first of all, first big question that comes to my mind is obviously, will Jannik Sinner go back to back? I mean, obviously he's world number one. He won 2 of the 3 Grand Slams we've seen so far. He went back to back in Australia, and he won his first Wimbledon title this season. Obviously, knowing Jannik Sinner and the player that he has probably one of the smartest games on the tour right now. I mean, he's world number one for a reason. He's winning all these big matches, but when he comes to the finals, he's usually meeting up with Carlos Alcaraz, which they've met twice in Grand Slams this year. They met at the French Open, which Carlos Alcaraz won that 5-set thriller. Then Jannik Sinner flipped the script and he won Wimbledon against Carlos Alcaraz, who was the 2-time defending champion of Wimbledon, which he beat Novak Djokovic twice in the last 2 years. Part of me thinks that this year will be another Sinner-Alcaraz final for the 3rd straight slam. And obviously Jannik Sinner's best surface is hard. Hard courts are his thing. Now, going back to last year, Jannik Sinner won both hard court slams last year. And I feel like it's going to be another Alcaraz Sinner final. I have a little bit of a feeling, but I feel like we're going to get something new, in which that goes into my next big question. Is American tennis on the rise? There's a lot of great American talent that's in the top 25. I mean, obviously you have Francis Tiafoe, who's looked really good in his first round match. Taylor Fritz, last year's U.S. Open finalist, looking really good too. Tommy Paul is also taking care of business. He took care of business in round 1. He plays last match tonight on Arthur Ashe in the 2nd round. Ben Shelton, world number 6, won the biggest title of his career in Toronto just a couple weeks ago. He's also looked really good. So there's a lot of great talent that's on the rise in American tennis. They're beating these top players. They're beating these top 5 players. And they've got some big games, whether they have like a big serve like Ben Shelton, powerful forehand like Francis Tiafoe or Taylor Fritz. But you got a lot of good strategies coming from these young guys, these American players. I mean, obviously Taylor Fritz being the highest ranked American player right now. But there's a lot of great talent. But American tennis sure is on the rise. And I feel like one of them is going to win a Grand Slam very soon, which that hasn't been done since Andy Roddick way back when, in the early 2000s. It was the last time an American man won a Grand Slam. And it's been a while since there's been an American man to win the U.S. Open, which if an American wins the U.S. Open this year, icing on the cake. I mean, we saw Coco Gauff do it a couple years ago in 2023. We saw Sloane Stephens do it back in 2017. There's a lot of good talent coming in from the USA. So I think there's going to be an American Grand Slam winner here in the next couple of years. I'm not sure if it'll be this year. I mean, if it is this year, then props to them. But they're up and coming. They're to these big-time players. And now we talk about my final big question for the men's side, which is Daniel Medvedev on a downfall. That kind of ties into the topic of the Medvedev versus Bonzi match on opening night on Sunday on Louis Armstrong Stadium, which was the hottest topic on day one. If any of y'all didn't know or didn't watch that match like I did, Bonzi was up 2-0, 5-4 add-in match point. After he hit his first serve, he was going to be on his second serve, but a photographer was stepping on the court to move into another position to take photos. And there was all this chaos and commotion. Daniel Medvedev went up to the umpire, the chair ump, upset, like heated, like I don't know exactly like what he really said, because I was watching the match and obviously he wasn't mic'd up or anything, but it was insane. Like, I don't know what in the world was going on, but the crowd, he was just getting the crowd up and loud. Like, the crowd was just loud nonstop for 6 straight minutes before Bonzi was able to hit another serve. Like, it was crazy. Like, especially on night 1. I mean, this was a big surprise. But that moment in the match really turned the whole match around, because Daniil Medvedev ended up coming back in the 3rd set, won the 4th set, but then he ended up losing the match in the 5th set. And thinking about this question, Daniil Medvedev has been in a slump. This is the 3rd straight slam where he's lost in the first round of a Grand Slam. I feel like he hasn't looked the same as he did last year. I mean, obviously people know him as having a big serve, such a good consistent game. He's such a tough player. I mean, he won the US Open back in 2022 for his first Grand Slam, beating Novak Djokovic. He's made a few Grand Slam final runs. I mean, he's lost to some tough players. I mean, Novak Djokovic being one, Rafael Nadal being someone he's lost to multiple times. I honestly don't know. I mean, he's been in that slump. What I feel like he just needs to take a little bit of time away from the game, but at the same time, work on the mechanics, go back to the basics, get back to playing the game that Medvedev knows how to play and knows how to beat these players. If he can find a way to get back to what he was used to playing, he'll be back to top 10 in the world. I mean, he was the number 13 seed in the tournament. And when we talk about the score of this match, this was a 5-set match. It was a crazy match. I watched pretty much that whole thing from the 3rd set on. It was a great match. I mean, Bonzi of France beat him in the first round of Wimbledon of this year. Now he beat him at the US Open. And so I feel like Medvedev has been on a downfall. I mean, people are saying, like, I mean, what a great comeback. Don't get me wrong. That was an incredible comeback. I mean, that was an entertaining match. I mean, those guys that were there at Louis Armstrong Stadium late night, they definitely got their money's worth. And it was a great match. But I feel like Medvedev just needs a little bit of time to just regroup, figure out his game a little bit more, and just go back to the basics and just work on those mechanics, working on that serve, working on that monster forehand that he has, because that's one of his biggest parts of his game. And now we talk about my picks of the tournament. Ben Shelton, obviously, he's one of my favorite players to watch right now. He's looked really good in his first 2 matches. I mean, I was watching a little bit of his 2nd round match last night when he played Pablo Carreño Busta of Spain. He's been playing on such a high level. I mean, he's got one of the biggest serves in the game right now. I mean, he's a powerful left-hander who knows how to hit those drop shots. He's got everything. He's got the forehand, he's got the backhand, he's got the slice, he's got the volley, and he's got that monster serve he's hit the highest speed of serve a couple of years ago. I mean, he's a 2-time Grand Slam semifinalist. Ben Shelton's is a threat. He's definitely my pick. I really want him to win. Obviously, the reason why I'm saying wanted is Jack Draper was another one of my picks, but he unfortunately withdrew from his 2nd round match yesterday to a arm injury, which that was very tough to watch, tough to see after he looked really good in his 1st round match. But it's something that he suffered prior to Wimbledon, or maybe after the French. I forgot what they said. But he was one of my picks, but obviously he's not going to win that Grand Slam match. I mean, he's the semifinalist last year, and he's been one of my favorite players to watch as well. And Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner, I really enjoy watching them. I mean, they're the new Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal, because they're always meeting up with each other, and that rivalry is something to watch. And Alexander Zverev is another one of those players who's really, really tough. He's made the final of the US Open before. In 2020, he lost to Dominic Thiem in a 5-set match. He's going to win a slam in the next couple of years. Alexander Zverev is going to get that Grand Slam. He's going to get over that hump of losing Grand Slam finals matches. He looked really good in his first round match. He's playing tonight in round 2, and I think he's going to make a really deep run once again. So obviously the US Open isn't the US Open without a talented group of broadcasters, commentators, courtside reporters, everything else in between, and ESPN is the main coverage for the US Open, Wimbledon, and the Australian Open. And this is something I always look forward to every year, just because of the conversations that the different commentators have on air, whether if it's during a match, when they're in the booth, or on courtside, interviewing a player, or just at the desk, just in between matches. The one thing I feel like ESPN does a really good job about is always having a stacked list of broadcasters. But this is one thing I feel like is very unique about when it comes to broadcasting Grand Slams, especially in tennis. They bring on former players to help tell the story of the US Open, help tell the story of these players. I mean, for example, John Isner is making his broadcasting debut. Sam Querrey, another number 1 ranked American, a couple years back, he made the US Open quarterfinals back in 2017. Coco Vandeweghe, Sloane Stephens, got to see a little bit of that. Chrissy Evert, Renee Stubbs, even, the McEnroe brothers, Patrick and John McEnroe, and, Mary Jo Fernandez, Chris Fowler. I mean, every list or line of broadcasters I see every day for the matches is grand. And I feel like, being a former tennis player myself, I got to talk about my time as a tennis player when I was at UIW on the broadcast, because it definitely gives you a different perspective on the players, just because a lot of these former players have played on these big stages. They played some of the current players on tour. Most recently, you've seen Sloane Stephens, Coco Vandeweghe, John Isner, even Sam Querrey a little bit. They've played these players before, and so they can tell their story from how they played it or how they know these players. I've listened to Coco Vandeweghe and Sloane Stephens just talk about whenever we played at the US Open. Both of them were a part of the Women's All-American semifinal in 2017, and Sloane Stephens ended up winning that major at the US Open. It gives you a different perspective, because as a player, you're so focused and into your routine, you're focused on the match and just trying to get your game right. And as a broadcaster, you're basically trying to tell the story, this player needs to hit this shot. Oh, this player hits this forehand well, or this player doesn't have a good second serve. I think that's what's so unique about broadcasting tennis is there's a lot of things that you can talk about, whether if it's player's history or coaching changes or this player's game, or they have one of the best forehands in the game. There's a lot of stories that can be talked about on different tennis matches. Some players on the broadcast team talk about different other players that they could be potentially facing or inside the match, and I feel like ESPN just does a great job of selecting the best talent. Their lineup is always stacked every single year, and that's something I admire. I just love the different conversations that the broadcasters have on air at the desk, especially just because there's this match coming up. You get your initial thoughts, or you get their picks of the tournament, and I'm as someone who dreams about broadcasting at the US Open, I picture myself there along that lineup of broadcasters one day, and that's the ultimate goal. That's my absolute dream job, and I would love to broadcast a tennis tournament someday. I mean, being a former tennis player myself and being able to play college tennis, I've played so many levels of tennis, whether it was in juniors, high school, college. Tennis is a fun sport to broadcast, and especially if you know the sport really well, you can tell multiple different stories, and there's so much time to fill. You can talk about multiple different things on a tennis broadcast, and so if any ESPN tennis broadcasters are listening to this, Coco, Vandaway, Sloane Stevens, Chrissy Everett, Renee Stubbs, any of y'all, I appreciate y'all so much, and y'all are doing amazing, and I cannot wait to tune back into y'all in Australia after the US Open is over. Well, that's the final whistle on this episode of The Playbook, Sideline Stories and Sports Talk. I'm Blair Villarreal, and be sure to follow, rate, and share the show so you'll never miss the next big play. Until then, I'll see you on the sidelines.